Destination Medicine is a collaborative initiative of regional training hubs. With first-hand lessons learned from those who have gone before, this podcast is designed to assist and inspire anyone interested in pursuing a medical career in rural and regional Australia.
Welcome to Destination Medicine. I'm Nicole Goodman. From a city-centric life in Blackpool in the UK to the remote community life in Broken Hill, Australia. Now that, you'd think, would bring a very different pace of life to anyone making the transition. But not so for Dr Sarah Wenham. Sarah hasn't slowed down one iota since she moved to Broken Hill from the UK 8 years ago to become the first and only specialist palliative care physician for the Far West Local Health District. It was an immense career change. Sarah qualified in Manchester in 1999. She travelled and worked briefly overseas before returning to Blackpool in the UK back in 2010, where she served 333,000 people in one small region. But then, 2 years later, Sarah made a seriously big move. She took up a position in Broken Hill. Now, she serves 32,000 people, but spanning a distance equivalent to England and Scotland combined. Sarah is passionate about providing high-quality end-of-care life, but she's also playing an important role in influencing healthcare changes for the better, as well as upskilling primary and acute care colleagues to do the same. Sarah has a string of advocacy work and committee positions to her name, from New South Wales Health to the Agency of Clinical Innovation, Clinical Excellence Commission, Palliative Care New South Wales, and the Australian and New Zealand Society of Palliative Care. She speaks at major conferences. She's authored guidelines, toolkits, and modules on palliative care, and she helped showcase Broken Hill in the palliative care context. Plus, she's happily married and a busy mum to 12-year-old Esther. Who ever said the pace is slower in the country? So how did a lass from the UK end up in the rural community of Broken Hill? Sarah Wenham's talking to Heather Dawson.
Well, there's a little story that goes with that, Heather, but I'll try and keep it quite short. My husband and I, quite a number of years ago, came and did a bit of a working holiday over in Sydney. We had a fantastic time. John was working in the emergency department over at Concord Hospital, and I was working as a palliative care registrar over there. And we had a great time whilst we were there, but then went back to the UK, finished training and thought that was it for our time in Australia. But then John was working as a GP in Manchester, just outside Manchester, and I was working as a consultant in palliative medicine, having finished my training up near Blackpool, and we were just trying to work out how we were going to balance life and working, and we had a young daughter at the time who was about to start school, and it was the middle of August, I remember, and it was a typical wet, rainy summer's day, and John started doing a little bit of online searching. We had a friend from university days who was living in Port Augusta and working for the Royal Flying Doctor Service there, and we'd visited him on our previous trips to Australia, and just something happened to draw John to the Royal Flying Doctor website that day, and there was a position available for a medical officer in Broken Hill. We'd never heard of Broken Hill, and so started doing a little bit of Google searching about it, and John made some inquiries with the Flying Doctor, and then the Flying Doctor put him in touch with the hospital, and then before we knew it, we'd both been interviewed for positions, and we were waiting for the visa process, and we're about to head out to, I suppose, our new life in Broken Hill. So I suppose it really all started as a bit of a trying to sort out how do we juggle both working and raising a family, and then we end up moving to the other side of the world.
Wow, Broken Hill must have been a surprise for you when you got there.
It absolutely was. I mean, we did actually do a trip the year before. We were coming out to a wedding around the time we were looking into the positions here. And the Flying Doctor very kindly flew us out from Sydney to Broken Hill, and we had 48 hours here. I remember saying that I needed to have something to do, so I'd need a job. I'd need to know that I could live there, and I needed to know I could get a decent cup of coffee. And after that 48 hours, I think we both got back on that plane knowing that we would be moving back to Broken Hill. So yes, it was a shock. It was very much a change from living in a big city in the UK. But I think we also both left knowing that there was sort of this jigsaw piece that we could fit perfectly, and realizing that, where we were leaving, there were lots of people that could do the positions that we were doing there, whereas there weren't very many people here willing to come out to Broken Hill. And I think we realized that actually we could make a huge difference by moving here and us both bringing the different skills that we've got and moving to Broken Hill and it becoming our home.
Well, how would you describe your current role, Sarah?
So as I've mentioned, Heather, I'm the specialist palliative care physician. So I cover the whole Far West local health district. When I think about the geography, it always still amazes me. So our geographical area is nearly 300,000 square kilometres, which is the same geographical area of England and Scotland combined. And I'm the only specialist palliative care physician covering that whole area. But I live in Broken Hill and work with a fantastic team of specialist palliative care nurses. And I support them medically to help care for people that are living with a life-limiting illness and are dying from that. And our role is to care for people and to provide them with sort of holistic supportive care in the place that they want to be. So we care for people in hospital, we care for people in their own homes, we care for people in aged care facilities, and we support people to live and to be cared for and to die across our whole district. So as well as Broken Hill, I help support the Derton Specialist Palliative Care Nursing Team. They cover Wentworth, Derton and down to Balranald, which is right at the south of our district. And then we've got a district team that covers all of the other areas outside of Broken Hill and Derton. So we go right up to the Queensland border as far as Tibbaborough. We go across to Wilcannia and on the other area right across to the South Australia border and down to the Victoria border. And we work very closely with all of the other district facilities, so the remote primary healthcare centres and remote multi-purpose facilities that we have in our district. And we also work very closely with all of the other healthcare providers, so the Royal Flying Doctor Service, Marimar, our Aboriginal healthcare service, the GPs, to be able to support them to also care for their patients who are requiring palliative care wherever they are across our district.
Well, I understand that in your role you've significantly assisted the growth of the palliative care service within the Far West Local Health District, but you also hold a number of other roles within the health service, don't you, Sarah?
I do, Heather, and I think that's one of those things is when there is only a handful of us, we often wear a number of different hats. So one of the other roles I have here within the hospital in Broken Hill is the DPET. So I'm the Director of Pre-Vocational Education and Training. And so that role is to support our junior medical officers that are here with us here in Broken Hill. So we have 6 of our own homegrown interns and resident medical officers who are based here with us in Broken Hill, and they spend 3 terms a year here, and then they go to Concord in Sydney to do their other 2 terms. And we also have a relationship with Concord Hospital that means they send us out a number of other junior medical officers to do a term at a time here with us. So they're based in Concord and come and spend some time with us here in Broken Hill. So my role involves looking after them, checking on their welfare and supporting their education and training whilst they're here with us in Broken Hill. So it's a great opportunity to be able to support our next generation of doctors, but also to inspire some of those that maybe this is their first opportunity and experience of rural healthcare, and to support them in that so we can make it as good an experience for them as possible, so that they might actually think about a career in rural and remote health in the future. Or if they're not thinking about that as a career, they certainly understand what it's like to provide healthcare in a rural and remote area, which means that when they are working in a city and they're interacting with rural colleagues or they're seeing patients that have travelled in from rural areas, they have an insight into what it's like for those patients and so can provide them the most appropriate care.
Now, when you look at Broken Hill on the map, I mean, it's geographically pretty isolated. Do you ever feel that distance in your work?
Oh, look, I certainly feel the distance. I think when I get in the back of the car and we're driving 750-kilometre round trip to do a single home visit to see somebody on a remote property. But I actually love that part of the job. I think it's fantastic getting out there. So at times, yes, you do feel the geographical isolation. But on the other hand, I think there are many, many opportunities to connect in lots of different ways. And I think we've really heightened that and used that a lot more in the last few months because of obviously the situation that the COVID pandemic's brought, that we've had to connect and stay connected with people in lots of other different ways. I think working as a sole specialist palliative care doctor here in the Far West, there is that possibility to feel on my own. But having said that, I think I've probably got the closest relationship that I've ever had with a nursing team. Always in the past, I've worked in teams where there's tended to be that medical nursing split, but there isn't here. We just work as one combined multidisciplinary team. So get a lot of support from the team that I work with and the different disciplines within that team. I think the other thing I find is that across specialties, we're a very small hospital, so everybody knows everybody. I know all of the consultants that I work with, and we get a number of locums that come and spend time with us, and fly in, fly out specialist doctors that visit us from Adelaide and Sydney. And so there's the opportunity to connect with other consultants and specialists that in a bigger metropolitan area I would never have any reason to come into contact with. But here, because we're small and we have that local network here. I think one of the other things that I've been very appreciative of is the support from people and my peers in other local health districts. So we've sort of informally started a bit of a network between other palliative care consultants in some of the other rural LHDs. And we share together, we meet together by video conference once a week to do education together. We also meet fortnightly as a consultant group to provide each other with that peer support. So there are definitely ways of being able to stay connected or make connections and then stay connected with people, even when we're not physically in the same place.
Do you think, Sarah, that moving to Broken Hill has actually enabled your career so that you have more of a voice than you may have had if you'd been in a more of a metropolitan setting?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was one of the things, Heather, that I was really surprised about when I moved to Broken Hill. People have been extremely generous with their time, their support, their advice, but also inviting me to be part of things that I know if I was doing a similar thing in a metropolitan area, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. One of the things was I was invited to be part of the expert working group for writing the latest copy of the palliative care therapeutic guidelines. So I'm sure those that are listening to this that are medically trained know about the therapeutic guidelines. There are basically our Bible when it comes to clinical guidelines for a number of different specialties. I know that that's an opportunity I would have never had without being where I was, because of the generosity of one of the other members of that group wanting to connect me into a broader peer network, but also wanting that publication to have the viewpoint of rural and remote health to it. I've also been invited to join a number of different committees at a state level and have recently been appointed as the co-chair of the Agency for Clinical Innovation's Palliative Care Executive Network. I've done a lot of work with the Clinical Excellence Commission on writing clinical guidelines for care in the last days of life, and have done a lot of work also with the New South Wales Ministry of Health in terms of being able to provide a rural and remote view for a lot of the policy work that's developed at a state level. So yes, I've found that I've had an unexpected voice that I really wasn't anticipating when I moved here. I think the other thing that as always surprises me is amazing the people that come and visit us here in Broken Hill. So I've actually met the New South Wales Health Secretary, and our current and previous New South Wales Minister for Health have also visited us here in Broken Hill. So yeah, we get the opportunity to meet people that I think we otherwise wouldn't meet if I was doing a similar thing in the middle of Sydney, for example.
Right. Now, Sarah, you're also quite an award winner as well. And I'm just going to let people know exactly what you've done. In 2019, you were recognised for all your hard work by being the recipient of, locally, you received the Medical Clinical Excellence and the Medical Leadership Excellence Awards for the Far West Local Health District, Staff Recognition Awards, and then presented the Excellence in Palliative Care Rural and Remote Award at the 2019 National Palliative Care Awards. So well done, Sarah. That must be very gratifying for you to receive these sort of recognition for the work you've done.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Yes, it is. I mean, it is an honour to be recognised in this way. But I think for me, palliative care is very much, it's a team effort. I can't do what I do if it weren't for the broad team that I have the absolute privilege of working with, the junior doctors in the team, the nursing staff, our wider allied health staff, and also all of the other specialties and disciplines that we work with. It really is very much a team effort to be able to provide the care that we do, and is very much supported by the LHD in allowing us to continue with the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service that we have. So whilst, yes, it is an honour to have personal recognition, I think every time I've talked about that, I really do see these as awards that they're there for the team.
Well, astonishingly, Sarah, in addition to all the professional hats that you wear, you also find time to be involved in your local community. So I hear that you host the annual Broken Hill Carols by Candlelight, and that comic relief is another of your specialities.
I'm not so much sure about the comic relief, but certainly, yes, it was, again, an honour to be invited to host the Carols by Candlelight last year. I'm not sure what we'll be doing this year, but I'm sure the committee will be thinking of something innovative if we can't all get together as a community. But I think that's been one of the really unexpected things, again, of living and working in the same community. Up until moving to Broken Hill, very much my work and home life were very separate, worked in a very different area to which I lived. But I think moving to Broken Hill in the community here has made me realise that those things can't and shouldn't be separated, and that we are who we are professionally, but we are who we are personally, and those two things are intertwined. So I think certainly, being able to get involved with things locally and to be able to, I suppose, use the professional voice that we've got to be able to support things that are important for our community and improve things our community is really important. So yeah, it was an honour to be involved in Carols by Candlelight and other hats, the swim mum and having a daughter that lives locally in town and supporting her in the sport she enjoys doing and the other things she enjoys doing is important as well.
Okay, well, final question. You've never regretted then that decisive moment when you decided to leave the hustle and bustle of city life in the UK for Broken Hill?
No, I think it very much has been a positive impact for all of us. I mean, I think the only slight pangs that we sometimes get at all of our family are still back in the UK. And I think feeling that separation a little bit more with the COVID situation. But certainly what we're able to do and how we're able to serve our local community here in Broken Hill is something that we don't regret the decision that we've made. And certainly now feel that here is our home.
Dr Sarah Wenham, Specialist Palliative Care Physician for the Far West Local Health District, Broken Hill. This is Destination Medicine. Thanks for listening.
Regional training hubs are supported by funding from the Australian Government under the Rural Health Multidisciplinary Training Program.